Getting beat up by 9 guys at Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jared Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. The Stone Cold Texas. Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah, New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it.
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jared.
I might as well tag me up with my buddy from Syracuse.
Bigger, badder, and better than before. The Heel to the Face podcast is on the air, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York. We are on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, and in living color on YouTube, as we are joined, as always, with Icebreaker21 on Twitter, better known as Brandon Clements, myself, Jared, just Jared Wicks. So it is time to get ready. We got 2 big events right in a row. The greatest Royal Rumble followed by Backlash. So without further ado, let's get this show started.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening with a 20-minute time limit.
So Brandon wanted to start the show by talking about Raw this past week. And the only thing that I think was kind of interesting that happened on Raw this week, before we get into all the greatest Royal Rumble talk, is that the show ended with women's 10-man tag. And I want to say that was interesting because I wonder if that has to do with the fact that they are excluded from participating at the Royal Rumble. So they put it on the air, main event, the women, to kind of be like, hey, we didn't forget about you guys. In fact, before we go to the greatest Royal Rumble, a pay-per-view event that you are completely excluded from, let's give you guys kind of your moment to shine.
Yeah, I think exactly. That's exactly what I think they did. Because how often do you see this type of match, at the end of a show? I would have thought this. I would have thought they would have put Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at the end of the show. That's what I was thinking. I mean, hey, I'm cool with it. I thought it was a solid match, and then you see Rousey coming at the end, so that was cool there. That kind of sucks too, because you bring Rousey in for these big events, and you can't even use her at the greatest Royal Rumble. To me, I get it. I mean, they have their views on things. I totally get it. I'm hoping personally it changes. Hopefully the WWE makes them so much money that when they go back to the table and draw this up next year, maybe they throw the females in. I mean, obviously it's a totally different culture, so I totally, that's their thing. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that's what Triple H is trying to say. He says the only way you're going to get things to change, he says, just because their culture is different doesn't mean it's not a relevant culture. And obviously what he means by that is there's a lot of people living there and there's a lot of money to be had. So let's not completely shut them off from the world. And the only way that change is going to happen when it comes to bringing the women on the card is if you do go there. You kind of show them what you can offer. And like we saw a few months ago in Abu Dhabi, if it wasn't for WWE and it wasn't for their women's revolution, there might not have been those women's matches. Now, granted, WWE had to conform a little bit, put Sasha Banks and Bayley and everybody in full bodysuits. They couldn't wear their typical outfits. But more importantly, they got on the card. They conformed to their stereotypes. They conformed to their ideals, and they got to be on the card, and that is something awesome. Now, that was something that was unheard of a few years ago. So, that's kind of probably what they're leaning towards in Saudi Arabia, the same idea. We can't just jump right in the water. We got to go in slow.
That was a good match, too, with Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. That was a good match. So it was a good display. I know they had to make the adjustments with the attire because, you can't show much skin in that culture. So, I mean, I'm just glad it was a good match. And I think they put the right 2 competitors at the time in that match. So overall, it was a good match. So my thinking is, we'll see how this goes. I mean, I was looking online. It looks like they're going to have a 10-year contract or 10-year deal. So I'm thinking maybe we'll see how it does. If they make a lot of money as it sits, maybe this is something that Vince and Triple H and the powers that be say, hey, we're making you a lot of money. We want to throw these folks in.
What exactly is the 10-year plan? I'm wondering.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm wondering that too.
Is WrestleMania coming to Saudi Arabia? Because when you start off like this, it just seems like, what could they possibly have in store for Saudi Arabia in the next 10 years?
It's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. When I saw the 10-year deal, I was like, that's interesting. I didn't know. I thought it might have been maybe a one-off to see how it goes. Then maybe they go back, years down the line. But when I saw a 10-year deal in place, I'm like, this is interesting.
Now, this kind of makes me wonder if Backlash should have just been scrapped altogether. I mean, obviously, Backlash was scheduled. Same with Payback. Payback was scheduled long before they realized they're going to put the brands together. They scrapped Payback because Payback was supposed to be about 3 weeks from now. It was supposed to be a SmackDown exclusive event. They scrapped that when they realized they were putting everybody together, and that fact that 2 pay-per-views within 3 weeks of each other wouldn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So obviously now I say the same with the Greatest Royal Rumble. Should Backlash have been scrapped altogether?
I mean, at this point, the way they're hyping this Greatest Royal Rumble, which is going to be on, which by the way is a weird time, but I get the time zone thing. Because of how much they're hyping it, yes, they should have just scrapped it all together. Now it's kind of like, all right, yeah, we'll just throw Backlash in pretty quick. Yeah, whatever. To me, it's kind of like they're going to throw the Backlash show together. That's what I'm thinking. Honestly, they should have scrapped it.
And here's my thing with the Greatest Royal Rumble. I am definitely an advocate when it comes to the World Wrestling Entertainment showing off the world in that. I'm an advocate for WrestleMania in London. I'm an advocate for the Royal Rumble in Tokyo. I'm an advocate for Monday Night Raw, all over the world. I love it. I'm sick and tired of seeing, Monday Night Raw from St. Louis, Missouri for the 65th time. I like the world aspect, and I think they should definitely expand upon that and more than just house shows. I'm the person who says, hey, bring actual pay-per-views. Don't just bring them house shows. Bring legit events, even if the time zone's screwy. Bring it once a year, twice a year there. I just don't understand why they couldn't have done it a more traditional way. Okay, they want to go to Saudi Arabia. They want to go for a big event. They realize Backlash is on the horizon. Bring them Backlash. Bring them a good event. Bring them a big event. Bring them world title. You could have had Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar inside of a steel cage. Obviously, at Backlash, it would have made more sense because that's the next pay-per-view event. That's not a made-up event. So they could have done this better. They could have brought them the actual Royal Rumble. I'm very surprised in WWE because they've, for 30 years, preserved the sanctity and the respect of the actual Royal Rumble match. They don't put it, we talked about this when the Royal Rumble was coming around in January. Mm-hmm. They don't put it at house shows. They don't just have it like Money in the Bank. They don't just throw it around at another pay-per-view.
It's a special occasion. It's a special occasion. That's what it is. It's a special thing. It's a special treat where guess what?
And WWE acknowledged that, and then after 30 years, on a 2-month notice, essentially, tickets went on sale the week before WrestleMania for this event.
Yeah, and don't get me started on that. That's, to me, it waters down the Royal Rumble match that we had in January. So what does this mean? So the Royal Rumbles we've been watching all these years, so do they mean nothing now because now it's now it's like Money in the Bank. They can just have it anytime they want. And to me, I don't like that. I love the concept of Money in the Bank, but make it a one match a year deal. Yeah. That's the way it should be. Special matches like that. TLCs
Hell in a Cell used to be like that, and then they watered that down a ton. Hell in a Cell isn't what it used to be.
I don't mind TLCs every couple months. I don't mind it, but you can't have TLCs like every pay-per-view. Royal Rumbles, Money in the Bank, special things that are, they're really important parts of your storylines. They should not be every pay-per-view or, every couple Raws just to throw it in there. Let's do it.
No, I fully agree, and there's a better way. They could have definitely gone to Saudi Arabia. They could have had this huge show. They could have done it one of the traditional pay-per-view routes. They have Extreme Rules. They have Backlash. They have Money in the Bank. They have all these. They have SummerSlam. I would have rather this been SummerSlam. I would have rather they brought SummerSlam to Saudi Arabia because it would have been cool because, one, it would have kept in the tradition of SummerSlam. It would have heightened up SummerSlam if it's not already considered the second biggest pay-per-view event of the year. But it would have showed that we always think that Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, these big events should be in stadiums, should be treated bigger. We all talk about SummerSlam 92 when it was outside in London in front of 80,000. Like, why don't they do that again? That was awesome. And it's it's in the line of the pay-per-views, meaning when the NFL brings its product to London, it doesn't invent new games. It brings existing games. It's like these teams we're going to play, we'll bring this game to London. They don't create week 17 or week 19 or any of this other stuff. They use the existing format. So if WWE would have used its existing format to go to Saudi Arabia, maybe make Backlash an even better pay-per-view, hey, that would have been awesome. Have Backlash to have a really big pay-per-view. But I just feel it's ruining, and WWE is ruining its own product. WWE creates the hype. WWE creates its own Super Bowl. It creates what we like. That's the best part about WWE. It's in control. There is no 0-16 versus 0-16 Super Bowl team. There is none of that nonsense because they create the product. So the fact is they are creating this, which is undermining their own creation. They're undermining Backlash. They're undermining WrestleMania.
And here's the best
that's
part.
a slippery slope because if you start throwing out Royal Rumbles and you start throwing out these events like a WrestleMania, what is going to get me hyped up to watch WrestleMania or go to WrestleMania if you're just going to create WrestleManias on a whim? That's what I like. That's why I watch a season premiere of a show, because I know that you're going to create that to be special. Now, if you don't create that to be special and you just make that a blockbuster event anytime, then that takes away. I think comparing this to sports is hard because people say, well, it's scripted. That's the idea. So let's compare it to what people like to compare it to. Now, the Academy Awards in movies is a big event. The Academy Awards is a traditional event. They hype it up on TV. It's like wrestling. It's this big, huge thing that's scripted, but at the same time, it's a big night for those who enjoy it.
You shouldn't be able to screw it up. If it's scripted, how do you screw things up?
So
that's the thing.
What if during the Academy Awards, there was a commercial for not just the people at home, but everybody at the Academy Awards that in 2 weeks, whoever wins these Academy Awards is going to have to then put these trophies on the line in another award ceremony. This time, the fans choose. This time, it's whoever won the Academy Award they're the champion. They're the best movie, the best actor for tonight. Because in 2 weeks, they'll have to put this on the line. This time,
it could be different.
Fans choose. All of a sudden, people are like, hey, this is even better than the Academy Awards because now it's the Academy Awards with my choice. Oh, and by the way, we're going to have better musical performances, it's going to be in a bigger venue. It's going to be longer. It's going to be at a better time. And you're sitting here going, well, then you just took away, you made the Academy Awards special, and then you made the Academy Awards not special.
To me, it ruins it because the traditional, like the matches, for example, the traditional matches, the Royal Rumbles, the Money in the Banks, these are like staple matches. You don't just bring them, you don't just throw them out there. They're
Brock
supposed to be
Lesnar versus
special
Roman
things.
Reigns. I mean, why are we going to pay? Why is 70,000
Exactly.
people going to fill a stadium next year to watch WrestleMania if we know that 2 weeks after WrestleMania they're going to give us the same match, this time with more importance? Now, this kind of ruins WrestleMania for me because what I thought I saw at WrestleMania was a big deal. WWE might have been thinking in the back of their head, yeah, we'll have all these people retain their belts because we're going to have the better finishes 2 weeks later.
Yeah, which to me, I feel bad for you because you were just there. You were just at WrestleMania, and you spent your money down there, expecting something, and
now Roman,
it sucks.
It's like in sports. It's like if you just want you hate this sports team, you want them to lose, you want their season to be over with, and all of a sudden in Game 6 of a series, you don't think they're going to lose. I didn't think Roman Reigns was going to lose. We all thought he was going to win. You don't think you're going to lose. You know they're going to win. In fact, you're more disappointed that the team that's going to lose is winning because the other team, you're like, they're going to come back and win. They're going to come back and win. And eventually it's over. Strike 3, the team you don't like loses in Game 6, and you're sitting there excited. You paid all this money. You're pumped. And then you realize, oh, wait, now there's a Game 7. And that's what this is.
It loses to me. It loses luster. That's what it really comes down to.
When I thought I saw Roman Reigns lose, I was pumped because for the time being, for at least a decent amount of time, I thought, okay, Brock Lesnar is going to retain the championship and start a new program. Who's next? If Roman Reigns, this is out, and then 2 weeks later they're going to fight again, and inside of a steel cage. And now you're thinking like,
Roman's winning this one.
Was I just duped?
You were definitely. I think you were duped because here's the thing. At the greatest Royal Rumble, this pay-per-view we got coming up tomorrow, here's the thing. Roman Reigns is winning the match. To me,
I don't see how they can have him lose.
How can? Yeah,
it was hard for me to believe that he lost at WrestleMania. Now you put him inside a steel cage in a rematch, like you're gonna have him lose twice in a row. I know Vince McMahon and WWE just a little bit. They're not gonna bury Roman Reigns like that. That's the problem.
No.
That's the problem. We hate Roman Reigns, and they put him on a pedestal. A lot of fans dislike him. They put him on a pedestal. So the reason is because we know they're not gonna bury him. We were surprised they let him lose once. So believe me, I would be wicked surprised if he lost twice. This time inside of a steel cage, no interference. Come on now.
Now let me ask you this. I mean, do we consider this the go home Raw and SmackDown before the this pay-per-view or special event? So what do we call this Raw and SmackDown this week? I mean,
it's the go home show. And what is this event? I don't know if you noticed that Michael Cole and Corey Graves or on SmackDown, Tom Phillips. When they're talking about the WWE Network and trying to subscribe, they're pumping up Backlash as the next, the next upcoming pay-per-view.
It's kind of a throwaway.
But if Backlash is a pay-per-view, what makes something a pay-per-view, I guess? Obviously with the WWE
Yeah,
Network,
yeah.
Nothing really is considered a pay-per-view anymore. And finding out that the Greatest Royal Rumble is on traditional pay-per-view in other countries, in Israel and Ireland, I've heard this is going to be like for $14.99 on traditional pay-per-view. So
Wait, the Greatest Royal Rumble?
yes.
Wow, that's a good deal considering what the card looks like.
So my question is, what makes the they're hyping up Backlash, because if you saw the promo, they're going to say you're going to get the Royal Rumble this Friday. Oh, and next time we're on pay-per-view. What do you mean next time we're on pay-per-view? What is the Greatest Royal Rumble? What is a pay-per-view? What is a special event? It'd be like if Monday Night Raw was on pay-per-view and WrestleMania was on the USA Network. Am I supposed to be getting more excited for Raw after WrestleMania? It doesn't. What is a pay-per-view? What is not a pay-per-view? Because they're telling us Backlash is the next pay-per-view, but this is legitimately the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, to me, it's bad booking. I mean, we've talked about this. It's bad booking. Backlash, to me, is a throwaway pay-per-view. I'm going to watch it because I'm a fan. That's what I do. But I'm not going to take much stock in it. To me, I don't think it's going to be that great of a show. Hopefully, I'm surprised. But this Greatest Royal Rumble is taken away from that as well, because usually Backlash is typically halfway decent. I mean, generally it is. And
Well,
then you get the whole
next big event after WrestleMania, and not so much this year.
No, it's just
I don't know what it is.
What is it? A filler?
I mean, yeah, and it's strange because I've never seen this before, but in the lead up. So the only other time where you see two pay-per-views kind of being promoted at the same time is the pay-per-view before WrestleMania and WrestleMania. Fastlane, Elimination Chamber, and then WrestleMania is on the horizon. This time it's in reverse. This time it's like WrestleMania is Friday and then Fastlane is after that. So you don't normally see that kind of booking. It makes more sense when you have the lesser pay-per-view with the winners going on to the bigger pay-per-view.
Not the other way around.
Yeah, not the other way around. You don't normally have
whack.
WrestleMania, but they're also trying to remind us that Fastlane's like a week later. You're like, what? Doesn't even make much. So this build up, like when you see these rivalries, and like for example, this week we had Carmella and Charlotte sign their contract for Backlash. It's just strange feeling.
Here's the thing. It's odd timing because we're in the week of this pay-per-view, quote unquote, the Greatest Royal Rumble. And here's the best part. You have the signing, which normally these signings happen the week of the show. So the go-home shows, you usually see it with the big matches, like you'll see Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, those type of matches. They get this, they get in the ring and they sign. Why would you have them sign now? There's no pay-per-view on Sunday. It's Friday. It's a Friday afternoon pay-per-view. It makes no sense.
It's probably because of the fact that they have currently no matches really built for that show.
Do you think it's WWE's version or way of saying, well, we can't put you on the show, but we want to make sure we headline you?
It's also a way that they are trying to sell Backlash still. So it's also a way that they're trying to be like, slowly and surely put some matches on that card.
I wonder.
It is a week away, and we currently have.
What do you think? What do you make of this?
Just this week on SmackDown, we found out that the women's title will be on the line, and we know Roman Reigns will take on Samoa Joe, and that's it. With a week away, that's what we got. So no, other than the women's match, no. I mean, it's a dual branded pay-per-view. Yet we have two matches. So, and one of them's for a title.
So will Backlash be one of those pay-per-views where you only have the camera in the one direction, you don't pan around because it's only going to be half the arena full? Because it's going to be, to me, like, why would I spend my hard-earned money on Backlash where to me it's almost like it's like a filler.
Well, everything's that's the thing with the network. Everything's on the network nowadays. But with this Greatest Royal Rumble, I mean, forget taking away from Backlash. They're taking away from WrestleMania, I think. And
that's
obviously,
true too,
on top of we talked about how they're taking away from the Royal Rumble by putting this out there. They're taking away from Backlash, but they're taking away from WrestleMania. This was 2 weeks ago. The cool thing about WrestleMania is it's the one show a year, or at least the one show for a while within 6 weeks of itself that's in a stadium that's got pyro, that's got the presentation. So to literally be putting on a WrestleMania caliber show with a unique set with pyro, outdoors, 60,000, and having everybody come in, all the legends, within a few weeks of each other. Normally by SummerSlam, you're ready for another quote unquote WrestleMania to go on. But, within 3 weeks of WrestleMania to already have Undertaker, Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, all these huge stars, everybody, and but everybody's there. It's not like, WrestleMania is the one time a year everybody's there a few days before the event. They're not doing house shows. Same with this. Everybody's already in Saudi Arabia, going to dinners, going to schools, posing, touring the city. So outside of having access and all these American fans there, this feels like, to the wrestlers, this is a WrestleMania. They're told by Vince McMahon that this is a WrestleMania.
Kind of a big
all
deal.
hands on deck. They called Chris Jericho for the event. They're like, Chris Jericho, we need you because this is a huge event. We need every.
We need all the star power.
We need Big Show. We didn't need him for WrestleMania, but we need him for this.
To me, it just makes no sense. Now, I know we're gonna get to the card, and we'll go over. We'll take a look and preview that later. Now, I know Raw and SmackDown, there wasn't much going on. I mean, what did you think of Chad Gable's debut? I'm a big fan of Chad Gable. I thought it was a good match between him and Jinder Mahal because Jinder Mahal was going for the Colossus. I personally, I'm a Chad Gable guy. You know me. We've talked about it before. Between the American Alpha, when they were American Alpha, I always said, why would you push Jason Jordan when Chad Gable is the better guy?
This is a good time for Chad Gable, especially with Jason Jordan out on injury.
It was a good
to kind of show himself off.
That was a good match. Jinder Mahal, it was a good match. I thought Jinder had it for a second. He went for the Colossus, and then Gable got the roll up and pinned him up. I thought that was a good match. I'm really hoping that Raw really is a good stage for Chad Gable. I feel like he's been buried for a while. I think it's time for him to be a singles competitor. I want to see him on the mid-card championships. That's what I want to see.
Speaking of kind of matches, I'll throw this one out there. We talked about it before. A chance to rise up. We finally saw them on some main television. The Ascension was in a tag team match this week, kind of getting some time versus Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I think that's the perfect fit for Paul Ellering. We talked about this before.
Well, the Ascension?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You can't get any lower for stock than the Ascension. If you're trying to buy stock, they're like penny stocks.
Well, they're on their way up because when's the last time we saw them on TV in a match? We saw them with they were Fandango and all them before.
Were they glorified jobbers tonight or on Monday night?
Yeah, but still they were on the show, which I can't remember the last time they were on SmackDown.
In a match, yes, in a match. They are in those segments with Breezango.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're like
in a
match. Sidekicks.
In a match where they're not being glorified as jokes. In a match where they're kind of being hyped up as.
Do you think they should send them back down at NXT?
That's a thing that I've never seen done before. We see it in real sports, but WWE has never sent anybody except for maybe Drew McIntyre. He didn't send him back. They rehired him years later.
They rehired him, and then they redid him.
They definitely should start exploring ideas of sending people back to NXT. I'm all for that.
I'm not saying repackage them because I still think their gimmick can work, but maybe they just need to get They start fresh. They go back to the bottom and build them up as like.
And all right, not just them, but there's probably a few people they can do that with.
Yeah, put Paul. Like you said, Paul Arlington, that would be perfect because the Authors of Pain. He's not with them anymore. I would say bring the Ascension down, keep their gimmick, and maybe they're off TV for a little while, and then him and Paul Ellering, and then the Ascension get together, and then you see these little vignettes, and you see them kind of like. We're making our way back to the top. We were the NXT tag team champs back in the day.
Maybe like the Bludgeon Brothers, kind of like that.
Sort of maybe. Yeah, but that would be. But the Bludgeon Brothers were repackaged, weren't they?
Yeah. Okay. So you don't, but still kind of like reintroduced.
Yeah. What are you gonna? You're not gonna call them the Ascension then? Or you just call them?
No, we'll call them the Ascension, but reintroduced. Okay. I guess that's what. But I love the idea of sending people down to NXT and not repackaging, reintroduce, just sending them down there to get them their following backs, I guess. And to get them some different competition.
And get them different competition.
Just like the Superstar Shakeup itself. Send them down to NXT to see them in front of some other people.
That's true. And the other thing is, it's maybe sometimes you just need. You see it in baseball.
Change of environment.
Yeah, you get to change of environment. In baseball, they send them down to the minors. And then a lot of times, after like a month or so, they got their groove back. They're back on track. In wrestling, maybe they should do that. That would be something interesting. Maybe they will do it. I would say this. I expect that to happen someday. I really do. Why not? If they're sitting at the bottom of the roster and just sitting there and not doing anything. What about Bo Dallas and what's his face there, Curtis Axel? What are you going to do with them? You can't.
The Baylor Club.
How long do you want them to go to different superstars? Hey, we could be the new Shield. It's going to get old after a while. So for me, maybe those guys are the kind of guys you send down too. Repackage them,
Yes.
And as we get the tweet going on,
that's more like it. Okay.
I was gonna say that sounds more familiar.
So when we return, we will come back with our Twitter question of the week. We also have our tweets of the week, as well as getting you ready for the greatest Royal Rumble. We'll have a complete breakdown of this pseudo pay-per-view, non-pay-per-view. Either way, we're treating it like it's WrestleMania, and we will go straight down the card when we return. Our Twitter question of the week, our tweet of the week, and greatest Royal Rumble predictions are all coming up as you are watching and listening to the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow at BoydGreen25 and at Ty D. Butler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB, you name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
Back here on the Heel to the Face podcast, it is time for our social media segments of the week. So without further ado, let's get things started for our Twitter question of the week. So our Twitter question of the week kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the first segment. Not counting the ECW branded pay-per-views, the One Night Stands from a few years ago, or even December to Dismember. Not counting those because those were considered WWE pay-per-view events, even though they were under the ECW name. Is Backlash now, as of recording, like 9 days away, the least built and hyped WWE pay-per-view of all time?
Yes, 100%. This pay-per-view is awful. What's the point?
We don't know it's awful because that's the thing. It's
awful.
Well, we don't know. We have two matches.
It's awful.
We have Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe in what could be a championship match, which I'm kind of hoping it's not. Not just because I don't want to see Roman Reigns win.
It will be a championship match.
But here's the problem I have with that. I don't want it to be a championship match, and this has nothing to do with not wanting to see Roman Reigns as champion. Has more to do with the fact that no. This is irregardless. I don't want to see the title on the line because I feel then that makes the outcome at Backlash even more evident. If it's Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe in a match, that could be a good match. But if it's Roman Reigns as champion versus Samoa Joe, like a week later after becoming champion, he's not losing the belt.
But maybe here's the thing.
We're not having 3 title changes in 3 weeks. Maybe
Backlash changes from awful to great because Roman Reigns wins the championship and then 1 week later, Samoa Joe wins the belt. I mean, that would be a great moment. That would be sick. Backlash to me is awfully booked. I don't think.
Well, it's awfully booked because we have nothing.
You're not building it.
You're booking a huge big event 1 week prior to Backlash. So you can't even give us a hint of what could possibly happen at Backlash.
To me, here's the issue. When you have this huge event,
we know a lot of women are going to be involved in the Backlash. I know that much. There'll be a few women's matches because they're going to make up for them not being in the Rumble.
Absolutely.
That's why we already saw Charlotte versus Carmella announced, because I feel that, both women's titles I think are going to be on the line, but that I really feel like they announced that because they want the women to have something to look forward to. They don't want, again, same with the Raw pay-per-view. They don't want to forget about them, so they're kind of hyping up maybe Backlash as the event. The women's championship event, I wouldn't be surprised if a women's championship match main evented Backlash. I think, you know what? I think you're onto something there. I think it's good. I think you might be right. Just to kind of make up for the fact that, they're excluded from this card, but also it's the women are the only way you can hype up Backlash because all the men are busy. True. And here, let me ask you. So you can't announce too many matches. Do you think this kind of, I know it's obviously it's poorly booked. They're not really building it up very well. To me, I feel like it's like a Raw or SmackDown. Like, it's just kind of like, they're just throwing matches together. That's the way I look at it. Like, to me, that's why it's an awful thing, because why would you're not really hyping it. You're kind of like, all right, greatest Royal Rumble, don't forget. And it's like, oh, by the way, Backlash is coming up. Like, to me, it's like, Backlash is like in the background. It's in the shadows, so to speak. To me, I think it's doing a disservice, and I'll be honest, when I'm watching that pay-per-view, I want to see how much, how big how much the arena's filled. I'm going to try to attend Backlash next week myself. Yeah, you'll get tickets like for $10. They're going to give them away. Hopefully. It is in the New York City area, so tickets might not go for that cheap. But regardless, it's, even in pay-per-views, let's take one of the ECW pay-per-views that was a one-match card, if you will. ECW's December to Dismember goes on record as one of the worst WWE pay-per-views of all time. Definitely one of the worst ECW pay-per-views of all time, where it had the Extreme Elimination Chamber. Now, the thing about that pay-per-view, though, give it some credit, is that it was built around a big main event. Obviously, all the matches below the main event were like SmackDown or just ECW on Tuesday night. They were just made at the last minute, had no meaning, had no storylines. They were just thrown in there, but it was built around a solid main event. The problem with Backlash is this isn't a card where we have one solid main event and then we don't know how they're going to fill in the card. We don't have anything. This isn't like we know it's going to be Shawn Michaels versus John Cena in a 60-minute Iron Man match, but we just don't know what's going to lead up to that. We don't know the main event. We don't know anything. We know a few of these pieces like Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe, but is that going to be the main event? The women's match that's not really being built as the main event. Is Carmella really, if you're going to have a women's match as a main event, is that really going to be the one you're going to have? Charlotte versus Carmella? Here's my issue. With the pay-per-view, you already kind of touched on it. With pay-per-views, to me, you have to build a storyline around it. You can't just throw matches in and poorly hype it. You at least have to have a main event. Yes. You have to have a main event and then plug everything else in. They've got nothing. They've got no main event. So they don't have a show. Yeah, they haven't built it. It's literally they're throwing it together last minute. To me, when I watch a pay-per-view, I'm expecting, maybe the climax to a rivalry. That's what I like to see at pay-per-views. To me, it's just you're throwing things in. To me, it's a waste. I'm hoping I have a feeling this Greatest Royal Rumble is going to be pretty darn good. I have a good feeling about that. I'll be watching it tomorrow night. Obviously, some of us have to work, during the day. So, you're lucky out, man. You're it's not an ideal time. I might have to actually miss the end of the Greatest Royal Rumble. And again, I'm fine. Here's the thing, kind of going back to the time of the Greatest Royal Rumble. They could have moved it to maybe Saturday. Like, again, I would be fine if SummerSlam was like that back in the day. SummerSlam was on in the afternoon. That's perfectly fine. Me, like Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. So Friday and Saturday are the weekend days in Saudi Arabia. Sunday is actually considered the first start of their work day, or their work week. So they can't on Sunday really have an event. But why not Saturday? I feel Saturday afternoon would be, better. And maybe they're trying to do it Friday night because it's a weekend day into a weekend day, and they're afraid that maybe not a lot of people are going to let their kids stay out till midnight like they do in the United States to watch WrestleMania on a Sunday night before school. And they realize that these people aren't traveling. They're not on vacation. They have to. All of these people will be going to work and school the next day. There isn't anyone there who's making a vacation out of this, if you will. So I get it that they don't want it to be on their Saturday is their quote unquote Sunday night. So I get that they wouldn't want it to be on their Sunday night, but hey, better yet, don't make it that long. Put it on their Sunday night. You don't have to go till midnight because that's what it looks like it's going to go to. It's going to go till midnight on their Friday night. Yeah, that's going to be late. Yeah, so that's why they're having it on their weekend night into weekend night because it's going to go into midnight. But again, do these better next time. Maybe just make them 3-hour events. I don't understand. You can have everybody on the card. You can have John Cena. You can have Triple H in action. I just feel there's better ways to do this. And Backlash is a perfect example about, what's going to suffer because of this.
Yeah. Backlash is, to me, I've already said it, and it's my hot take. Backlash is going to be I think to me, it's going to be an awful pay-per-view. I mean, you can't, you're not building things up. Pay-per-views are supposed to be built over time. You're supposed to get to the height of the rivalry and finish it at the pay-per-view. There's not really much going on. These storylines are, there's not much going on. And to me, I feel like it's going to be like a regular Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, we have, 1 week? Let's just say this upcoming week on Raw and SmackDown is going to be a very, very hectic week in Montreal, where they're filming Raw and SmackDown this week, getting you ready for these events.
And to me, it's kind of like how they kind of threw Cena and Undertaker together, like last minute. Like, to me, that was poorly booked. Again, WWE,
it's like a whole card like that, except for without even the seeds.
Yeah, to me, it's poorly booked. WWE, shame on you.
All right, so time to get to our tweet of the week. We'll start with you, Brandon. What is your tweet of the week?
All right, well, my tweet of the week goes out to one of our regulars, WWE Creative Humor. I went back to the well. This is a good one. So they tweeted out, Iconics win with the feet on the rope. And the reason, and that doesn't sound like it's that great of a tweet, but have you noticed with the Iconics, there's 2 eyes in Iconics?
Yes.
What the hell's the point? So what WWE Creative Humor did, which I thought was funny, every single word in that tweet had an extra, so Iconics, double I, win, double W, with, double W, the, 2 T's in the front, F, or feet, two F's, O, or on, 2 O's, the, 2 T's, rope, 2 R's. To me, I thought it was funny because I'm like, what is the point of Iconics with two eyes? Is it just me?
Well, I would say the point of Iconics with two R's or 2 eyes is because not just it symbolizes the fact that
they're a duo.
Yes.
Then why don't you leave it the Iconic duo like they did in NXT? To me,
WWE has to trademark certain names. For example, Iconics is probably, something that's already been trademarked by somebody somewhere before. So WWE, that's why they do these, different spellings, different formats.
Just like Ruby.
So if they want to
Ruby
sell
Riot.
a T-shirt, yeah.
The Ruby Riot with Riot.
Yeah, because if you want to sell a T-shirt, you're going to have your own idea. That name's already taken by somebody. A band somewhere. It's already the name of a movie.
Why brand them as the Iconic Duo in NXT and then not use that as what their name is up in the big show? To me, like if you're trying to, I understand you're trying to sell T-shirts, but why don't you do it from the beginning? Because the fans are still calling them the Iconic Duo.
I feel maybe when they get to WWE is when they really start focusing on marketing, and maybe they weren't paying too much attention to it.
Yeah, but that's half the thing. You have to market yourself in the NXT.
Yeah,
you trust me.
I don't know why they changed things.
Like Undisputed Era, like they're selling T-shirts up the wazoo. You know what I mean? Then you got Johnny Wrestling. He's selling a ton of merch. You know what I mean?
Johnny Wrestling, 2 W's when he gets here,
or 2 G's at the end.
Or instead of Gargano, it'll be Gargano Go. Gargano. Gargano.
Maybe they'll throw a couple O's at the end of it. Gargano.
So my tweet of the week came from Aaron Craig. You can find him on Twitter at acraig2031. If you find him on Twitter, he's got, I don't know, is that Japanese, Chinese?
Looks like Japanese.
Yeah, I don't. But it's Aaron Craig, and he tweeted out this picture from a Fall Out Boy concert the other night. Now, Fall Out Boy was performing at the Budokan Hall in Tokyo, Japan, and as part of their set, they had the Budokan Hall marquee behind them. Obviously, it was FOB for Fall Out Boy, but they paid tribute to some other people who have been on that marquee before. More importantly, Andre the Giant.
Well done.
Andre the Giant Forever is written. It says Land of the Giants match between the Giant Baba and Andre the Giant, which was a match that took place, back in the Budokan Hall. I would say the 60s, mid 70s when Andre the Giant was touring the world. So as a tribute to the venue and as a tribute to Andre the Giant, they incorporated the Budokan Hall marquee with Andre the Giant headlining in their concert in Japan the other night. And that was and also cited from the tweet. It says, nice tribute by Fall Out Boy, Budokan Hall in the history of the building. Pete Wentz cited watching wrestling as one of the reasons why the venue is important to the band, the other being about live albums they used to record there. But Pete Wentz, a wrestling fan, did not know
That's cool.
But Pete Wentz, a Fall Out Boy, a wrestling fan, and Fall Out Boy itself, tributing Andre the Giant, headlining Budokan Hall in Japan at their latest concert.
I just had to say, bravo, Fall Out Boy. Well done.
All right, so that's going to do it for our Twitter question and our tweets of the week. When we return to the program, we will have our predictions for the greatest Royal Rumble event from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the city of Jeddah. That's coming up next as you are listening and watching the Heel the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow at BoydGreen25 and at Ty D. Butler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB. You name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
I like that one. I haven't heard. We haven't done that. We haven't used that classic rock in a while. I like that.
He is
one.
probably the only one who is currently under the WWE moniker of the last 10 years who is not being booked for the greatest Royal Rumble, but who knows? I mean, with 50 men, there is a lot of room for surprises. So let's get to this. The greatest Royal Rumble event, Friday afternoon at noon. Hopefully we'll have this show out in time before the greatest Royal Rumble. I'm going to do my best. A huge card, WrestleMania caliber. If these matches were all billed from December to April, this would be a worthy WrestleMania card right here. And again, we can talk all day about how it might take away from WrestleMania because they're giving us the Royal Rumble, my second favorite pay-per-view, and then they're giving us WrestleMania as well. This is, 11 matches?
Yeah,
11 matches.
A lot of quality matches. Yeah.
So let's go down the line. Let's start with some non-title matches. John Cena versus Triple H. Who do you think is going over in Saudi Arabia?
Well, Triple H is known to lose in these big events. So, I mean, Triple H is probably going to lose. So I'll go John Cena on that one.
So John Cena. Now, again, how is this going to affect John Cena's storyline? Because he just lost to The Undertaker. He's going to come back and win, and now is he back?
I don't.
Is this anything?
I think John Cena's about done. To be honest with you, I think he might have one more run in him, but I think the retirement is going to be calling him pretty soon. All
right, so the other non-title match on the card, because again, I don't know why they need to have so many matches. Don't need, again, with the match you just mentioned, what I just mentioned, and the match that I'm about to mention, this is reason enough that you don't even need the world title to be wasted on the line here. Rusev versus The Undertaker in a casket match. Now, fun stat, The Undertaker has never won a casket match.
He wins it. He wins it this time.
He wins it this time?
Yeah, I think he
but
does.
they are,
Yeah, but here's the thing.
in Saudi Arabia, what is their relationship to Russia and the Ukraine?
You know better than I do.
So, I mean,
I'm not. What is
if Rusev won, would it be an international incident? That's what I'm just trying to make.
Let me put it to you like this: Undertaker, he's going to win. Like, here's the thing: they were going to throw Chris Jericho in the match, and then Rusev. Then they had their issues. Then they threw Rusev in. What is the constant?
A plus on Raw too for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to talk about the Rusev and being out of the match, saying about it. You know, if your wife is going to let you wrestle or not.
I think Undertaker's going to win. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Undertaker's going to win. And you know what? I have no problem with these first two matches. These are star quality matches. These are people who don't normally wrestle because no titles are on the line. And this is kind of like a super show. This is what a big show should be.
Yeah.
Again, because John Cena and Triple H also are not going to be at Backlash. And same with The Undertaker. So you're not ruining Backlash with these two matches.
Yeah, this is how you should have booked it. Like, make it a star-studded event, but don't take away from, the next pay-per-view, which is Backlash.
Don't actually hype up like title matches with two people from opposing brands, like what I'm about to mention, and that is the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Seth Rollins from Raw versus The Miz from SmackDown, Finn Balor from Raw, and Samoa Joe from SmackDown. There's even been rumors that Bobby Lashley was going to be joining this match, but more importantly, a ladder match for the IC title. Is Miz getting back his belt? Is Seth Rollins retaining? What's going on here?
I think they're going to keep it on Seth Rollins. I think I think they're going to start pushing Monday Night Rollins. I read a recent interview, a transcript of a recent interview. He kind of said, Roman might be the guy, right now, but WWE, and I think it was kind of a nudge where he's like, Roman can be the guy in his yard, but I'm Monday Night Rollins. I mean, maybe he was cutting a little bit of a promo, but I think WWE is going to keep pushing him a little bit.
This is another example. At WrestleMania, I got Rollins, Miz, and Balor in a triple threat match, which I thought was cool enough. They had Samoa Joe, who wasn't on the WrestleMania card. He debuted or returned the night after WrestleMania, and they make it a ladder match. So they pretty much made the WrestleMania match look like the Monday Night Raw before the WrestleMania.
Pretty much.
With this match. Now, another championship on the line.
Who did you pick on that one, by the way? I'm
picking The Miz. I'm picking The Miz. He's going to win the IC belt. Maybe that might give away some results for another match later in the card. SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Bludgeon Brothers defend their championships against the Usos. I see the Bludgeon Brothers winning.
Yeah, I do too. I love the Usos. They are my favorite tag team in WWE right now, but the Bludgeon Brothers are just they're indestructible right now.
So now we move on to the Raw Tag Team Championships with a new team from SmackDown, The Bar versus Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. Remember, a champion will be crowned. There is no current champion. So unlike, a regular house show, this isn't going to go just as according to plan. We will be seeing a new champion at the Greatest Royal Rumble crowned, whether you like it or not. Who's going to be leaving with the Raw championships? Is it The Bar from SmackDown or Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt?
I think Hardy and Wyatt are going to win. I think it's good for them. I think having them as tag team champions, I think their dynamic with each other, I think is fantastic. I think it's good for the tag team division.
I'm taking Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt as well. Now moving on to the U.S. Championship match. Jeff Hardy, the new U.S. champion of SmackDown, taking on Monday Night Raw's Jinder Mahal. Now, I'm going to give away, obviously, what I just said. I think The Miz is going to win the IC belt. Jinder Mahal's winning back his U.S. title and bringing it to Raw.
So they're kind of flipping championships.
Yeah, if one changes hands, they both have to change hands.
Well, I tip my hand, then I'm going Jeff Hardy.
So you're going Jeff Hardy? All right, so we move on to the Cruiserweight Championship match, a match that, again, this could have been on the card.
So wait, is this like a kickoff show?
Yeah, is there any matches on the kickoff show? That's a good question. There is going to be a kickoff show for the event because this is not a pay-per-view event. It's only 5 hours long. It's only in front of 65,000 people. It's only got a Royal Rumble event with pyrotechnics, probably even better than what we saw at WrestleMania because it's an outdoor event. It's going to be beautiful weather, and it's got a kickoff show added on, but it's not, a pay-per-view or anything. And it's got all these championship matches, including the new champion, Cedric Alexander versus Kalisto.
I don't really care, to be honest with you.
They could have had this match. Again, this would have been perfect. They could have had this on there.
They should just keep it on 205 Live. Just to pick, I'll go Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, I'm going to say Cedric Alexander retains. They need to start building up champions on that show and make them mean something.
Agreed.
So let's move on to the 2 championship matches, the new heel Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. So what we saw at WrestleMania, but this time it's got more of an edge, an actual, like a little bit better storyline than we saw at WrestleMania. Shinsuke Nakamura, the heel, against the champion AJ Styles.
This is a tough one because I like both. I like both these guys. I like Shin as a heel. The way they're building it, and I mean, I'm just gonna say I'll go Shinsuke.
It's hard to have these people lose twice. That's the problem with this card.
Yeah. I think Shinsuke is gonna take AJ Styles.
I'm saying AJ Styles defends the belt.
To me, it's splitting hairs. To me, it doesn't matter.
But I don't know. But that really leaves many questions. What are we gonna do with Shinsuke?
Why would you build him as a heel if you're not gonna put? If you're gonna put, here's the thing: if you're making him a heel, put the championship on him. That's what That's what I'm thinking. So either way, it's gonna be a good match. Hopefully, it's not as disappointing as the WrestleMania match.
You got to assume that this WWE Championship is going to be on the line a week from now again at Backlash. You got to have it on the line.
Yeah,
how do you have a dual branded pay-per-view event?
So it'll be a rematch and Shin will win again.
I'll tell you what we'll give away if this is on the line at Backlash or not. Is the winner of this match, the Universal Championship inside of a steel cage, if Brock Lesnar defends, because Brock Lesnar will not be at Backlash. If Brock Lesnar defends, then the WWE Championship will have to be on the line at Backlash.
Absolutely.
But if Roman Reigns can win the match inside of a steel cage, then that might be the one championship match for Backlash against Samoa Joe. Who are you taking? I think we already know. I'm taking him, even though I don't want to take him. Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah. Just roll your eyes when you say it. I know.
I
know it's tough. Honestly, Roman Reigns, that's my guy. I believe that. All right, Roman Reigns.
So Roman Reigns is going to win and go to Backlash and face Samoa Joe. Now, the first ever Royal Rumble, and here's the thing. A lot of people have been saying you got to give the winner something. No, don't give the winner something. Please, don't give the winner something, because we were talking for the last hour now about how we want the Royal Rumble to have some sort of meaning. So if all of a sudden this Royal Rumble winner gets a championship shot at SummerSlam,
it takes away from January.
Then the whole January Rumble is shot. Yep. At least what we can hold on to at the January Royal Rumble, even though it's only 30 guys and not 50 guys, and it's only going to be in front of 20,000 and not 100,000, is that there is some sort of meaning to this winner, which hopefully they don't give to the winner of the 50-man Royal Rumble. But who do you have in the first ever 50-man Royal Rumble? Just a few of the names, because we don't have all of them. Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle, The Great Khali, Braun Strowman. So essentially what I'm naming off here, even if it was just a 20-man Royal Rumble, would probably be better than the 30-man Royal Rumble, because this is not just 50, but a star-studded 50-man Royal Rumble. With people that don't normally compete in the Royal Rumbles, like Shane McMahon's, the Kurt Angles, the people that aren't typically in it. Obviously, then you have Rey Mysterio, which we thought was a big deal that he was in the regular Royal Rumble. Apparently not, because he's going to be in this one too. The Great Khali, which would have been cool to see in the regular Royal Rumble. Braun Strowman. Daniel Bryan, who was out of action at time of Royal Rumble. Chris Jericho, who was nowhere to be found during the Royal Rumble WrestleMania season.
Yeah, we can name names for like 10 minutes.
Dolph Ziggler, who was a surprise at the original Royal Rumble. Who are you taking to win this Royal Rumble?
I don't know. I don't know. There's no stock in it. It's not like, the way they're building it's not going to be.
I forgot Big Show.
A championship match. Like, it's not going to get you a championship match, I should say. I'm going to go Daniel Bryan. What a great way to come back. He's come back from his injury and getting cleared medically. This would be kind of a cool way to say, all right, man, welcome back.
I'm going to go with, because they like to do this for matches that don't seem to matter to show off their strength. Braun Strowman. Because whenever the title, if you watch the regular Royal Rumble, Braun Strowman, Kane, Big Show, they never win. Because of the fact that if they win, they don't really have a place for them in the main events of WrestleMania. Kane and Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns and all these people set records. Forget Roman Reigns who said that, but Kane and Braun Strowman and all these other big jobbers, these big jobbers will set Royal Rumble records for most eliminations or longest time in a Royal Rumble, but they'll never actually have them win, because they like to have an underdog leading up to WrestleMania.
Not to cut you off, over under how many? So I'll say over under 20 guys that Braun throws out. Over under on that. What do you take the over under?
I would say 50 guys. I'd take the over.
Okay, yeah, me too.
So I'm saying Braun Strowman wins this, because if you watch Battle Royals, a lot of times they have the Kanes, the Big Shows, they have them win those matches because they don't have any meaning. Like if you go to a house show and they had a Battle Royal, they would have Big Show win, even though they don't do anything with them storyline wise in actual WWE. So Big Show, I don't think they're going to give to the win, but I'm saying Braun Strowman. Number 2, I might say Bobby Lashley. But Braun
That's a good
Strowman would
one,
be
too.
a good way to win because he's not going on to WrestleMania, but it's just cool. Braun Strowman wins.
The big guy.
Yeah, the big guy. And then
The
that's how you
monster
can
among
go
men.
off the air with Braun Strowman winning the greatest Royal Rumble from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the beautiful city of Jeddah. I don't know if you noticed that, but that was quite the postcard they were trying to paint for us leading up to this. That's the thing, too. When WrestleMania is going to New Orleans, they weren't telling us what, WrestleMania from the beautiful, wonderful city of New Orleans, the Kingdom of New Orleans. No, they are definitely hyping this up. We could talk all day about the politics, the schematics, everything surrounding the Greatest Royal Rumble that doesn't have to do with the actual Greatest Royal Rumble itself. But it is this Friday, whether you like it or not, whether you keep watching wrestling after this or not. It is this Friday from Saudi Arabia. Who knows? Maybe we won't have to worry about going to WB events. They're going to move them all to Saudi Arabia because the money's so good over there. We don't know. But before I go off the air, just want to take a shout out because we are filmed and recorded here in Syracuse, New York. If you get a chance this weekend, some big shows going on in the central New York area. Watertown, New York on Friday night, and Elmira, New York at the First Arena on Saturday night, April the 27th and 28th. Big time wrestling. It's come here to Syracuse before, and it's coming to Watertown and the Jefferson Community College on Friday night, and the First Arena in downtown Elmira on Saturday night. Kevin Nash, Big Daddy Cool Scott Steiner, who you might not know, but last Sunday became a tag team champion with Eli Drake at the Impact Redemption pay-per-view. So he'll be coming in with his new Impact Championship belt, or maybe not with the championship belt. I don't know. Sabu is on the card as well as former WWE star, if you could call him a star, the Patriot, as well as the best in local talent like Rob Cook, who is a local champion. He will be on the card as well, defending his belt against hybrid Sean Carr. So Friday night and Saturday night from Watertown, New York, and Elmira, New York. So at 1 hour north of Syracuse, 1 hour south of Syracuse, you can see some live professional wrestling this weekend, as well as watching on the WWE Network, the big event, the Greatest Royal Rumble, as that's going to do it for this week's edition of the program. For Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, for myself, Jared Wicks, this has been the Heel to Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Heel to the Face. Until next week, we'll have another pay-per-view to get you ready for. It'll be Backlash. Enjoy the Greatest Royal Rumble. Enjoy big-time wrestling in Watertown and Elmira, and we'll see you next week.